Hey there, folks. Buckle up for a deep dive into the latest drama unfolding in the South China Sea. We're talking ASEAN summit, regional stability, and all that juicy geopolitical goodness. Let's kick things off with some eye-catching headlines that'll get your attention. What is the current state of tensions in the South China Sea? Picture this. It's October 10th, 2024, and the 27th ASEAN-China Summit is underway in Laos. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. takes the stage, his face etched with concern. He declares, "The overall situation in the South China Sea remains tense and unchanged." The room falls silent as he continues. "We continue to be subjected to harassment and intimidation. In recent months, a series of confrontations have unfolded like a high-stakes chess game. Chinese and Philippine vessels face off near contested features like the Sabina Shoal, known as Xianbin to China, and Escoda to the Philippines. This shoal, just 75 nautical miles west of the Philippine island province of Palawan, has become a flashpoint in the region's complex territorial disputes. Marcos's words paint a vivid picture of the tensions. Chinese Coast Guard vessels blasting horns, firing water cannons, and even ramming Philippine boats. He speaks of Chinese Navy ships armed with missiles menacingly targeting civilian Filipino vessels and aircraft. These clashes are set against the backdrop of China's expansive claims in the South China Sea, symbolized by its infamous 9-dash line map. Despite an international tribunal rejecting these claims in 2016, China continues to assert its dominance, steadily militarizing features in the disputed waters. The stakes are high, with the specter of potential U.S. involvement looming large. As a treaty ally of the Philippines, any escalation could draw in the world's superpower, turning regional tensions into a global flashpoint. Now let's turn to our second question. What solutions are being proposed to reduce tensions? In the face of these rising tensions, President Marcos calls for action. His voice resonates through the summit hall as he urges for greater urgency in the pace of the negotiations on an ASEAN-China Code of Conduct for the South China Sea. This code, first proposed in 2002 but only formally discussed since 2017, has become a beacon of hope for managing the disputes. Marcos's plea is clear. All parties must be earnestly open to seriously managing the differences to de-escalate the situation. He doesn't mince words, accusing China of disregarding international law, specifically citing the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea and Maritime Collision Regulations. With a note of warning in his voice, Marcos reminds the audience that the world is watching. He calls for a concerted and urgent effort to adopt measures to prevent their recurrence, making it clear that ASEAN-China cooperation cannot be separated from resolving these maritime disputes. Other ASEAN leaders joined the chorus. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, set to take the ASEAN chair next year, echoes the call for swift conclusion of the code. But the path forward is fraught with challenges, as disagreements persist over whether the eventual pact should be legally binding. Moving on to our third question. How has China responded to these criticisms? In response to these criticisms, China's Premier Li Qiang takes a defiant stance. His words are carefully chosen as he speaks of external forces interfering in regional affairs, attempting to introduce bloc confrontation and geopolitical conflicts into Asia. While he doesn't name names, the implication is clear. This is a veiled reference to the United States and its allies. Li's tone shifts as he describes the South China Sea as a shared home, asserting China's obligation to protect its sovereignty. He calls for dialogue, painting a picture of amicable dispute resolution. But his focus quickly turns to economic ties, promoting the idea of an ultra-large-scale market as the key to prosperity. Meanwhile, in Beijing, Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning's words echo through press conference halls. She declares China's firm opposition to any infringement and provocation, vowing to safeguard China's territorial sovereignty and maritime rights. Her vision of the South China Sea as a sea of peace, friendship, and cooperation stands in stark contrast to the reality of ongoing tensions. Yet, actions speak louder than words. China's continued deployment of Coast Guard vessels deep into the exclusive economic zones of ASEAN countries tells a different story. The disconnect between China's rhetoric of cooperation and its assertive behavior in the South China Sea remains a thorn in the side of regional relations. Let's now consider our fourth question. What progress has been made on economic cooperation between ASEAN and China? Despite the storm clouds gathering over maritime disputes, a ray of economic sunshine breaks through. At the summit, ASEAN and China announced progress on upgrading their free trade agreement. Lao Prime Minister Sonixe Sifandon's words carry a note of optimism as he speaks of negotiations concluding by 2025, calling it a reflection of shared commitment to deepen and expand economic integration. The proposed upgrades are wide-ranging, covering everything from customs procedures to supply chain connectivity, competition policy to consumer protection. Premier Lee's eyes light up as he highlights the combined market power of ASEAN and China, accounting for a quarter of the world's population. The numbers tell a story of remarkable growth. Since the initial Free Trade Pact in 2010, trade between ASEAN and China has skyrocketed from $235.5 billion to a staggering $696.7 billion in 2023. China now stands as ASEAN's largest trading partner and third largest source of foreign investment. This economic interdependence adds another layer of complexity to the regional dynamics. It helps explain ASEAN's cautious approach to criticizing Chinese actions in the South China Sea, even as tensions simmer beneath the surface. Now let's explore our fifth question. What role are other powers playing in the South China Sea disputes? As the drama unfolds in the South China Sea, other global powers are not mere spectators. The United States, ever present, continues its freedom of navigation operations, its naval vessels cutting through disputed waters. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's presence at the ASEAN meeting serves as a reminder of Washington's commitment to Southeast Asia, a strategic counter to China's growing influence. But the stage is not set for a simple two-player game. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov all make their entrances, attending meetings on the sidelines of the main ASEAN summit. Their presence underscores the South China Sea's importance to the broader Indo-Pacific chessboard. Japan, in particular, is stepping into the spotlight. Prime Minister Ishiba's pledge to provide patrol vessels and training on maritime law enforcement to ASEAN countries signals Tokyo's ambition to play a larger security role in Southeast Asia, positioning itself as a counterweight to China. Meanwhile, South Korea is strengthening its ties with ASEAN partners. President Yoon Suk-yeol's first summit with Japan's Ishiba in Laos marks a new chapter in Seoul's push to improve relations with Tokyo and enhance trilateral cooperation with the U.S., all in an effort to balance against China's regional ambitions. Finally, let's consider our last question. What are the implications for regional stability and ASEAN unity? As the curtain falls on the ASEAN summit, the implications for regional stability and ASEAN unity loom large. The South China Sea disputes have become a litmus test for ASEAN's effectiveness in managing regional tensions. While ASEAN leaders call for peaceful resolution and adherence to international law, the bloc's consensus-based approach often results in statements that tiptoe around direct criticism of China. The unity of ASEAN itself is under strain. Some members like Cambodia and Laos, with their close economic ties to Beijing, are reluctant to take strong stances on the maritime disputes. This has led to moments of deadlock within ASEAN on South China Sea issues. The Philippines, under President Marcos, has taken a more assertive approach, but risks becoming a lone voice if other ASEAN states remain reluctant to confront China more directly. The slow progress on finalizing a code of conduct raises questions about ASEAN's effectiveness in addressing security challenges. While economic cooperation with China continues to deepen, the lack of a binding agreement to manage maritime disputes leaves the region vulnerable to potential escalation. As great power competition intensifies in the Indo-Pacific, ASEAN faces the Herculean task of maintaining its centrality in regional affairs while balancing relations with China and the U.S. The bloc's ability to speak with one voice on the South China Sea will be crucial to preserving stability and preventing the disputes from spiraling into wider conflict. The latest ASEAN meetings have shone a spotlight on the persistent tensions in the South China Sea. with the Philippines taking a lead in calling out Chinese behavior. While economic ties between ASEAN and China continue to strengthen, maritime disputes remain a major obstacle to deeper strategic cooperation. The future stability and prosperity of Southeast Asia hang in the balance, dependent on finding a way to peacefully manage these conflicts while preserving ASEAN unity. As we close this chapter, the question remains, will diplomacy prevail, or will the waters of the South China Sea become ever more turbulent? Only time will tell. Subscribe for more.